Hello YouTube. I'm going to start this new video. You've seen a part of this before, but we're going to start this one now, the whole thing. This is going to be the AJ Foyt 1979 Oldsmobile. As you can see, I've got the body, I primed and painted that body. There was some sanding right up here. There was a seam line that went all the way up and across the top, down, and then it kind of curved out right in here like there was a little circle piece. So be careful, and I couldn't see that part until I primed it. And then of course the seam goes down along there. But that was the only seams that I had to sand off, and that was on both sides of the kit. So I sanded most of it off except for basically back there. I had to prime it to see that because you couldn't see it. So the body was prepped. Probably should have recorded that, but I didn't. But right now you can see there's no more lines. They've all been taken off. And I just used the Rust-Oleum gray primer and then Rust-Oleum, I believe this is apple red. So it's not a red, but it's kind of a faded red. As you can see on that box, that's kind of like a faded looking red. So, and I got the hood painted. You can see that's still gray under there, and I'm probably not going to bother with it. Started this piece, which you've seen this before, this guy. I did sand some of the putty down. I'm going to have to prime him gray. All this was built. The engine is not in there yet. There's a lot of parts that still have to go on this, plus it has to be painted. I just kind of got it sitting in there. Hopefully this guy doesn't roll out when I do this. All right, so down here, I filled that with glue, and I got to sand that. Those are all of the molding spots. I'm probably not going to do these two because I believe the rest of the frame hook's there. This has all been done. This kind of gives you an idea of where we're at so far. Lots of little pieces, lots of detailed pieces. I've built one of these kits before. Well, actually I built two of these Oldsmobiles before. I built the Petty one and I built the Hawaiian Tropic, the Donnie Allison one. So I have built one of these, or several of these before, but we're going to try to get a little bit more detailed with this one. But that is what we've got done so far. Just the beginning of this video, and there will be a lot more to come. I think next we'll probably, I'll have to spray some clear on there and put the decals on. That's actually still tacky. That's been drying for 24 hours and it's still tacky on the edge. So this paint does take a while to dry. So it'll probably be another 24 hours before I start the decal work. But there's plenty more to do before then. And he does look pretty cool in the car. I don't know if I put that on a video or not. Obviously, I have to wait now, but... All right. Whoops. We'll be moving on here. Okay, so I decided to put some of the chrome and silver paint on here before doing the decals. That way I can gloss coat it all. And it'll all be in there. We don't have to worry about it later. And there it is. Okay, I'm gonna get a bird's eye view here real quick. I just put these decals on. All right, so they're still drying. There's a few wrinkles that I'm still kind of pushing out. And I just use a Q-tip, trying to run some of them wrinkles out. There's not very many, and they don't look too bad as of right now. And I still work on that. There's one little bump right there I gotta see if I can get out. And all I do is just keep pushing it and trying to get that to come out. You can poke a hole in there too if it doesn't come out. And, you know, try to get it to work that way. You can still see some wrinkles here and there. But, yeah, I got everything on there. These decals went on excellent. Very easy compared to my last one that I did. Yeah, see those little wrinkles? I'm still trying to get those out. You can use your finger too, but I'd rather just use this. Sometimes you catch it with your finger and then you pull it and then it turns into all kinds of horrible fun that you don't want. But anyways, got all these on there. Something to note. So this car color, I used a apple red. Now it was a Rust-Oleum color, okay? I also used that apple red on that Bill Elliott car, and it turned out looking red, all right? Now that might be because it was up against the blue and everything. It turned out really well. But it's not a true red. So this particular kit, so I can get the light off it, it calls for a coyote orange, all right? Well, I can't find coyote orange. I'm sure you could mix that color. There is a more, or I should say there is more of an orange tint that they sell with a red, which could be your best bet. However, if you look at this, compared to pictures online of this car, that car looks more red than orange. So this looks pretty close. You can see it's not a true red. Like here's a good example. Let me cover this up, make sure. Okay, see that's red. You can see there's a difference. There's a slight tint of an orange in this. So this seems to work out well, but if you want it to look more orange, there is an orange tint that I've seen. You know, it's a reddish orange, but it has more of an orange in it, and that might be the way to go. However, this seems to work pretty good. Let me see if I can reach over here and grab the box lid real quick. Yep, okay. Let me put this next to it here too. See, you can see that looks pretty close. This actually looks red. I had a really hard time looking at this because, you know, before you open up, you're like, is that an orange or is that a red? As you can see, that looks pretty close. So it's a coyote orange. I mean, you might be able to find somebody that's making NASCAR model paint. There used to be an outfit that did that. I'm not sure if they're still around. And get the correct color if they have it. But if not, this Rust-Oleum apple red seems to work pretty good, as you can see. That looks pretty close. So I figured I'd just make sure that everybody knew that if you're going to try your own. And then as for touch-up, okay, let me get down here. See that going between the two silver pieces where the 51 is, and then just the plain silver piece? That red going in between there, I had to touch that up. I actually had to touch up right there. You can see it kind of ran into the silver. And that is just the Vallejo Scarlet, in case you need any touch-up. And as you can see, that matches in pretty well too. So I mean, I guess technically you could use, if you're wanting to do acrylic, you could get yourself some Scarlet and try that. You know, and I don't know if they make the airbrush kind like that, or if you can buy that and then mix the airbrush solution. I do that a lot, especially with military models. I just mix that up and then, you know, spray it myself instead of going through the hassle of airbrush paint. But that's up to you, of course. But all the decals are on right now. Still drying, still trying to get some of the stuff out of there. The only bad thing I did on this was I was trying to clean up that red. See how I kind of I put some tape over that, and apparently that wasn't dry yet, that silver, and it kind of tore it up a little bit. So that's my only bad spots that I've got. So I have to try to clean that up. I don't want to go too wild with it because I don't want to make it worse than what it is. It's not that bad. Once you get the bumper on, you probably won't even be able to tell. I will, but no one else will, you know. But decals are on, and I'll be putting a coat of gloss clear on that when it dries a little bit. And then I will most likely put that furniture polish on that again, because that seemed to work really well. I was really surprised. I don't know, you know, you kind of, when you never did something before, you kind of worry that it might mess things up. But this Quick Shine, this seemed to work pretty good. It is milky, and don't fear that because you see it in your little cup. I put it in one of those little medicine cups that have the NyQuil. They come with the NyQuil bottles, and it does look milky, but that goes away. It clears up and it looks great. So that is probably what I'll be doing after the clear coat, and that'll make it nice and shiny. And you know, you kind of get this, see how you get that fuzzy look? Now that's been sprayed with a coat of clear before I put those decals on, but that takes that away. So really nice. All right, so decals are done. Moving on. Okay, so starting to size this up. I got the frame built to put it in. As you can see, the guy moved up, so I'm definitely gonna have to cut up into that arm so that it'll kind of fold over top of that door. So that is where we're at right now, because I want to make sure everything's going to fit before we move on. That's for sure. Okay, so there's obviously a lot of prep work before I can even really sand and even paint, especially this figure. So the only way that I can really do this, which it looks like that wheel kind of went crooked, I'm going to have to straighten that out. So I had to try to figure out how to put this arm on. So I had to cut it here, cut it back there, and glue that. So that right now it looks like that. Now that's rough. I'll have to putty that, sand it, and all kinds of stuff. But I have to try to get it to where the wheel fits right. This is not an easy process. So it's like you got to do little things here and there trying to get everything right. Now I can pull him out and the wheel comes with him right now, so that'll all have to be painted together, and that's okay. But that's the only way that I can really do it to make sure everything fits, because I don't want to get into a situation where I'm tearing up a bunch of stuff because I'm trying to fit a figure in eventually. I'd rather try to do it as easily as I can and less damage in the end. But right now, I'm definitely gonna have to try to, yeah. See, it moved a little bit. That's better. And then it looks like it moved out at the bottom just a little bit. So I'm gonna have to move that up too. But it's not going back that way. But anyways, that's where we're at right now. I'm still working on him. And I mean, this is gonna be fairly easy. I just filled the holes on this back piece, and then I'm gonna have to sand that before I even paint all that. When it comes time to paint, it should be fairly easy. I can get everything pretty much going. It's just getting all the loose ends taken care of before the paint. But that's where we're at right now. Okay, so I started priming everything. Got the figure primed. Get him about the way I want him. A little bit more sanding on that arm. And I've started priming all of the frame and everything. and it's just a rough prime, nothing major. Tried to get some of that crud off of there, but that is where we're at this moment. Probably finish up the framework. I have to paint the seat first before I put the rest of the frame on, make it easier on me, and then I'll work on the figure before I finish the frame, put him in there, and everything will be ready to go. Okay, I also put his straps, his belt on him. That way that'll be ready to go when I paint everything up. I had to take that top piece out. Tried to put it in, you can't fit him in, so it's just gonna, I knew things were gonna get difficult, but I thought maybe I'd get lucky, but I have to assemble a lot of stuff after I get him painted and everything put in there. Okay, so here we are. This is what we've got done. Got everything painted in there. All the silver parts done. Got everything put together. I got him painted and in there. I should have probably took pictures before I put him in there. He's actually not glued in there. He's just sitting in there. So, but he does look pretty decent. I didn't do any wiring or any hoses or anything on the inside. So, I figure with him in there, this would be my extra, my detailing stuff for this kit. So basically all I'm doing is waiting on the silver parts to paint. I just painted those, I sprayed them, and then I can get the engine and everything in here. But that is what we have as of right now. Let's see if I can get him from the other side. I'm not gonna put a net in this at all. I'm just gonna let that go. So, but there it is so far. All right, so I've got the engine in there. It's started. I got some weathering to do on that. Got the grill and everything in there. And then I did get the wheels started. The decals went on great. These decals are actually excellent compared to painting everything. Then I put, you know, the different markings on the tires. So we're getting closer. Got to weather that engine and then put the tires on and do the bumpers and everything. That we're moving along. Okay, while I had everything apart, I added some wiring inside there. I wish I could have did that, but it's just too small to really do. I still have to put the boot in there, but that's what I got out of that. So not too bad. A little bit of detail, not a whole lot, but a little bit. Okay, here we are with the finish of the AJ Foyt Racing 1979 Oldsmobile. Okay, there it is. I left the hood off so that you can see the engine. I'll take some pictures and put it at the end. But there's the driver. I didn't do a net this time. I just left it alone because it could be down in the side, but you'd never see it anyway. So I just left that alone. I did put some gloss over the tires to make it look fresh, like he's just rolling out there. I put some wiring in there. I still wish I had the wiring for the you know, the spark plug wires, the good stuff, but that's all I got right now is the copper stuff. This is the only area I had trouble with. Right there, those two pieces, they kept wanting to move and they didn't really fit right. I did put some stuff in the car, and I showed that earlier. But that is what it looks like. Kind of get in there like that. I didn't put a camera in no camera came with this car, and I just didn't really feel the need to. I've got an extra one around, but I didn't feel the need to put that in there. But that is that. It is done. We'll go in a display case. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to leave some pictures at the end. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like, please subscribe, hit the like button. Jesus is King, and God bless.